It's a story that goes back all the way to RLCS Season 9. A lot of history between these two teams, but it's finally time for us to settle it. And we've also brought in extra talent. CJ, not good enough to play, but you're finally here as a caster.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot, Yummy. It's great to be here, ladies and gentlemen. How are you all doing at home? Obviously, it's just disappointing that it is online. It's disappointing that I'm not playing in it. But here we have it. The top two teams from OCE, Ground Zero and Cringe Society. I can't wait. I'm pumped. Jake, I know you're excited too, mate.
CJ, I'm very pumped to have you here. I think it's going to be an awesome cast, and I think the viewers are going to be pumped as well.
Looking at these teams, the major thing that pointed out to me by Ground Zero, where they want to win this. It's $70,000. Whoever wins this will take home the biggest prize pool in OC history for a single tournament, even regarding that Season 6 fourth place run that was done by Torsos earlier.
I mean, yeah, it looks pretty exciting, Yummy, but at the same time, Cringe Society obviously do want to win as well. And for me, I have to come with an unbiased point of view. I know everyone at home, they're all thinking Ground Zero. This could be an easy 8-0. The casters, Gibbs, he probably doesn't even watch OCE, but he's predicted 8-0. I have to think with the month off, I'm coming with the unbiased view that Cringe Society, they're a red-hot chance here in this final. As Decker does open it up with the first goal of the RLCS OCE Championships.
Yeah, and Decker's been really big for Cringe Society, and it's good to see him showing up already, not being too far back like we've sometimes seen, showing up to get the first goal here.
And it's huge for them. They need a great start. Cringe Society, they've been very consistent. They start off strong most of the time. Ground Zero, they are slow starters. They do struggle often in that first couple of games, maybe the first series of the day. So this is going to be Cringe Society's best chance to take them down.
You make a great point, and I think that if Cringe Society are going to get this win here in this best of 3, best of 7s here, it has to be this first series. Ground Zero, they do start slow, and I can see this going to 6 or 7 games, even if Ground Zero do take this one out.
Yeah, and honestly, like you're saying, CJ, it's been a month, and maybe the expectations have changed a bit. I was honestly expecting Ground Zero to come in super confident and maybe a bit complacent, but hearing the interview, Jim is so humble and probably a good impact on the guy.
I actually think that there's a lot on the line here for Ground Zero. Express said to me that this season's a failure if they don't come out winning the majority of the prize pool. With $100,000 on the line, currently, Cringe Society are 40K behind. The difference would be made if Cringe Society win here, they would make as much as Ground Zero. If Ground Zero win, they make huge amounts of money, and Amphis popping off.
Have a look at the musty flick from Amphis, and none other than Express doing what he has done for the entire year on this side, getting the bump, playing that disruptor role. Ground Zero get that equalizer.
And we're seeing Ground Zero coming out as confident as ever. We talked about it. It's hard to get those demos, and Decker almost getting another chance. We're seeing a lot of ground play in this first opening match.
That's a good start, and Drippe actually trying to continue something here, but Decker gets bumped out of the way. They were looking for a counterattack, a very Cringe Society style where they defend and get it to the other end. A play that I think CJ would do them quite well against Ground Zero if they're a little bit off tune.
100%. And as we said, this first series is where they have to get him here. Evans does put the shot on Jules. Great little save there. But, I mean, it's got to be a close series. They've had a month off. At Cringe Society, you've got a month. All you have to do is prepare for one team, Yummy. It's different to any other tournament where you've got a few other teams that are, in the mix. And, I mean, Jake, for you, if you have a month to prepare for one team, surely you can close that gap a little bit.
Yeah, I think as well, Ground Zero really struggled after the Christmas break in the season as well. So I think they're a team that really relies on their hard working kind of style. I know Torsos, absolute grinder. So I think Cringe Society, like you're saying, certainly the format is favoring them.
Well, that's the funny thing as well, is that even when they are playing badly, they've still been able to get championships. They've won so many championships, 7 over the course of the last 2 splits. And in fact, in the last 2 splits, they only lost 2 in total. So they're actually incredibly ahead. If Ground Zero had not got a single point from that fall split, they still would have come out first seed. CJ, how'd you let them win every single one?
Yeah, look, Just, full credit to Ground Zero. Just a great team, and really just nothing could be done. As another bump comes out, Torsos gets the dunk, putting Ground Zero in the lead. Yummy, stop talking about me. We've got two teams here. I'm not here. Stop it. I'm getting sad.
I love this play from Ground Zero, though. Their bump game has been phenomenal. And in fact, Torsos is usually involved in these bumps. Torsos and Amphis. Torsos used to be a player who never, ever, ever bumped. And now in RLCSX, he is the highest bumper on this pitch.
And look, CJ, we just can't help but just bring you up, man, because I think it was this bumping that really stopped you guys from taking down Ground Zero, because honestly, I think every team has really struggled with it, and it's really unique to them.
Yeah, look, Ground Zero, I joke about it, but they are a seriously strong side. We certainly we had some tough matchups against them. We were fortunate enough to get a couple of wins, and I think when you are beating Ground Zero, you have to play confident. I mean, if you just sit back, you've got players like Amphis, as we see with him, he just has no nerves at all. I don't know what's going on with the guy. He's a robot. He just doesn't care. Maybe money isn't a factor for him at the ripe age of 7 or however old he is. Just not fazed by the pressure, and that's pretty exciting to see.
Hey, it's great to see as well that both teams are playing pretty confidently overall. As there's another opening, another demo leads to the goal, and it is Ground Zero just plowing forward.
And another dribble off the back of Amphis as well, getting the demo as well. You don't normally see him getting the demo, so if he can bring that in as well, I think Ground Zero will be very threatening for Cringe Society.
What I love is that we have these two teams that have played together over and over again. 13-0 in terms of series wins goes to Ground Zero, but there's so much room for those 5-6 weeks to make a huge difference. Especially for me, I want to see Jules have a huge impact here for Cringe Society. We know that he can pop off. CJ, you know that he can pop off as you used to team with him. Mm-hmm. And I don't really feel like we've seen that from him on the Cringe Society roster.
I mean, he can always pull a series out of nowhere where he can genuinely carry his team against any team in the world, and that's what they need. They need that. They need something special here, Cringe Society. They need a little bit of X factor. I know the NA and the EU casters, and I guess the people around the world, they're probably looking at Drippe as a player on Cringe Society to perhaps be popping off, but absolutely. But obviously, Jules has that X factor that perhaps a lot of people haven't quite seen yet. There's always something that can come out here. But in that first game, Jake, I mean, Ground Zero, this is worrying for Cringe Society, because if Ground Zero can start as strongly as they have here with 10 shots to 3, it is worrying for the rest of these series.
Well, I think whenever Amphis is playing well, just no one stands a chance against Ground Zero. And Amphis having a big first game, he's also shown that, when he starts a series, he generally keeps it up as well. So Cringe Society, like you guys have been saying, I think it's really up to the players like Jules or Drippe to step up.
It is really scary as well, because we obviously talked about Cringe Society's greatest hope is the fact that they have had all this time to prepare. But during this 5-6 weeks, as Gibbs was saying, they didn't really have many scrim opponents. Everybody is either changing teams or getting ready for IWO, and they haven't had that same quality of practice that they would have had throughout the regular season.
I mean, it has certainly been tough for them, but I guess it's what you've got to do. They were both these teams are in the same situation. They haven't quite had the practice that would have perhaps had in the regular season. But I mean, for me, we didn't really talk about our predictions, ladies and gentlemen. It's hard to say after Ground Zero won the first game, but I put Amphis in the top 15 players in the world. I think that if he pops off, this team, that's when they could be world beaters, this Ground Zero team. They could take it up to any of the international teams. So to see him already hitting musty flicks in game 1 of this series, that is scary for Cringe Society.
Yeah, he is the best player when they're playing the best, or when he's at his best. He's had a bit of a rough 2021, especially at the start, because I think school really picked up for him, as well as soccer, or football, as the Europeans would say. And that really affected his chance to practice.
Well, CJ, we had our predictions. You didn't get the chance with those percentages. I think I got 90. I don't remember exactly what you got, Yummy, but what would you put?
I was originally going to do 90, and I think you snaked it, so I went to 95 or something like that. I think that might even be somewhat unfair, but you can't go against the fact that even in games, Ground Zero have 3 times as many game wins as Cringe Society, and they've only gone to the final game, I think, once or twice in the 13 series that they've played, both in RLCS and in the RLO Masters.
It is a pretty crazy statistic. Now for me.
Yeah.
Now for me. All right.
Well,
Listen here, Yummy. All right. You just let me take the reins for a second, because I've been being able to get my prediction out. Now, listen, if this was played straight after the last major, this is 100% for Ground Zero. I'm going to give Cringe Society 5% purely for the month that we've had in between, because that is the
bold
there
prediction
was no
now
way
that
they
there's
were
one
beating
game in the win as well.
Yeah, well, 100. Yeah, I guess it makes me a little bit more
generous.
5%
as well.
5%. That's all I'm giving them.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the problem is that these guys, this is the team that Cringe Society are the team that won RLCS Season 9. It took them a long time to get back together, but Jules and Deca were so dominant. They were the 2 best players in OCE Express. What was that?
Express of today of all days. Today, when OCE for once shouldn't be a meme. He has owned gold in true regional fashion. Oh my goodness. What a first goal for Cringe Society. Express, please.
Oh, just a beautiful redirect from Jules. You can't stop those from going.
Oh, no. Please no more of that, especially from Express. A Drippe underneath. Torsos pre-jumped over the top.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the best defense from Tors. Clearly didn't see the ground pinch coming or respected some sort of top corner pinch shot out of nowhere, but Drip does get on underneath. This is a handy 2-goal lead for Cringe Society here, and they have to hold this. They have to.
Honestly, I'm impressed Torsos somehow missed that, honestly. He did a great job, obviously, respecting Drippe. And again, another one going in from Deca. Cringe Society trying to show they're a bit more than 5%.
Yeah, big clear from Deca all the way down. Ground Zero do get caught out sometimes, pushing too far up, and that leads into the counter-attack playstyle that Cringe Society like to play.
It is good to see Torsos still having a little bit of a smile, though. He's clearly enjoying himself here. I mean, again, there is a lot of money on the line, but just what a great opportunity to showcase what sort of talent is coming out of the OCE region. We've got a lot of people here watching, a lot of eyes on the region, and Express's own goal, it didn't do wonders for the region so far. So now it's going to be up to them to really showcase something else other than an own goal.
And for those at home who talk a lot about Drippe, he has been the highest goal scorer and assister in Fall Split and highest goal scorer in the Winter Split, and he only got into number 3 in both goals in the final split, but he has still been such a major force for this team, and we're starting to see it in this game.
You just see it from Drippe where he just finds these angles and just absolutely smashes it into the top corner. Like we saw before, Torsos just respecting him so much, but you have to against Drippe. He's really so unique in the region at just finding those amazing shots.
He also has managed to step up a lot more in the forward half. I think when Cringe Society have struggled, they've had Drippe sort of in that third man stuck there. That's not where he's his best, in my opinion. He's best when he's got the chance to shoot, as you said. And, well, it looks like he is getting a bit more aggressive time, except Deca fortunately touched that away from him.
Jules now takes this up on the wall, and I just think this is what Cringe Society do best. I know that Kami, not sure if you've heard of him, one of those plays in OCE. He calls Cringe Society just very, very boring, very default sort of team. But this is what they do so well. They get that little lead, Jake, and they just able to hold it in. They're just able to just keep that ball in Ground Zero's half. They're not overcommitting, and they're just trying to lock down that win. They don't really worry about scoring another goal.
Yeah, they've always had very low-scoring games, which me and Yami have been pretty critical of all season. But at the same time, like you're saying, CJ, their defense is honestly the best in the region when they do have those leads to hold on to.
To be fair, though, they have got a lot more aggressive in the spring split, and that, I think, is what led them to even making it here by taking that major victory over the Renegades in Game 7, a really tight one. And so that's the sign of greatness. It always goes in there. It wouldn't have mattered, as the ball is going to go hit the ground, and Cringe Society have tied it up.
Huge game here for Cringe Society. It's one they needed as well. And I think for them, they really just caught out. Well, obviously the own goal didn't help. Let's not beat around the bush here. The own goal to open up game number 2 here didn't quite go to plan for Ground Zero. But the way that Cringe's side were able to apply the pressure, they didn't just get that one goal. They kept pushing for more and were able to create a few solo play opportunities as well. That was pretty impressive. So a strong game, and to shut out Ground Zero in any game is, it's huge.
Honestly, to look at Ground Zero, though, they were missing the things that got them the goals in the first game. We didn't see any demos. We didn't really see as many dribble plays coming out of them either. It was really Cringe Society kind of forcing the game into that quote-unquote kind of boring style of just rotations and getting the goals in.
Well, Cringe Society have now equalized, and I know a few people out there were predicting an 8-0 for Ground Zero. This is exactly what we were talking about when it comes to the chance for Cringe Society to win. If they just continue reeling Ground Zero into that defensive half, and if they're able to stave off that attack, then they will be scoring goals at the other end. They had equal shots, but Cringe Society 3-0.
And I mean, everyone predicting the 8-0, the 4-0-4-0 sweep, the first one of the championships. Well, unfortunately, you're just wrong. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think the overall result is still probably on the money with the predictions, but Cringe Society, they are that kind of team. Like we're saying, if they do get that first goal, they're so hard to get back, and that is really helping them in keeping these series close as well.
That's good. There's a potential here, given a 3-0 and how strong that last game was from Cringe Society, that they can wrest control and take that through the rest of the series. We'll see if that is the case, as Drippe had to defend that by himself. There's a problem as there are 2 members of Ground Zero ready for the attack.
Now, Jake, I want to pose a question to you, right? Because me and Yummy, we had a little bit of deliberation on the side of Ground Zero as to who is the best player on this team. Obviously, a star-starter lineup, and every player has their role. Now, I just have to argue that Amphis he's the X factor of the team, and he's the reason why they are so good. Yummy, however, has gone the consistency factor of Torsos, just the way that he's always plays up to such a high standard. Jake, tell me, who is the best player on this team in your opinion?
Well, honestly, I've always been a big Torsos fanboy. I think he was just incredible, especially Split 2. Coming in, but recently, CJ, I got to agree more with you. I think Amphis has really developed that consistency as well. So he's that player that gets those crazy goals, such high impact, but he's also very solid rotationally now as well. So I'd have to give it to Amphis.
And Amphis as well had a huge major. I mean, he was by far the best player in the major as well. But to me, Torsos has been the reason they've gotten all these wins when they're not playing well. He's a huge clutch factor, and he always has been on every team that he's been on. I think he's the reason that OC have been on the map.
I mean, I have to agree, and he's probably the most exciting thing everyone talks about to come out of OCE since probably, you might say peak Drippe back on the day before he, cruelly left the region and just left us for dead to join the Evil Geniuses over in NA. So, that's on him, but here we go. Here's an opening. Torsos got to get the first goal here of game number 3. A little bit of a mistake, a little bit of a tight save coming out from Cringe. They couldn't quite get it back.
Yeah, Jules not quite able to get the touch he wanted, and Torsos not letting him get away with that for a second, making sure he gets his goal on the board.
Bit of a shame for Jules too, because I feel like 9 times out of 10 he makes that miracle save, and today he just misses getting that up to the crossbar. That's if we go back to Amphis as well, he is the youngest player and the most rookie player on the pitch at the moment. I mean, he only came out in 2020. It's kind of that, those people who follow NA, the Justin story. He came out 2020, kind of out of nowhere, very mechanical, on a team that did quite well, but wasn't considered one of the top. And then he gets picked up by a team, and since then has been really dominant.
Yeah, he's kind of surrounded by grandpas of the region, honestly. Deca was kind of a similar case around 2018, 2019, but it's really Amphis that's really been that new player to come out and really join the top ranks.
Well, it's funny to me because Deca still feels like that younger player, but he's been here around the block for quite a while, and he's been to Worlds, so you really can't consider him anything but a veteran at this point.
100%. And I mean, Look, the elephant in the room, the person we have to talk about here is Express. I mean, this man, he is doing the work that no one else wants to on this team. He's, if they had anyone else, it's hard to, you don't even know how good that could be. Obviously, Amphis and Torso say they've got such offensive firepower, but Express might just be one of the best third men, one of the best, but one of the best aggressors as well that he probably doesn't get credit for, Yummy, is when just the work that he does down the pitch with his bumps, with his boost steals, just being an absolute nuisance. I know that playing him, that's one of his probably biggest strengths, let alone his defense.
Well, with NRG as number one in NA, it kind of reminds me of Garrett G Express. Very much can play all positions, really solid all around.
Oh no.
And if you give him that room up front, he's great, but Jules has got a sneaky easy one.
Yeah, oh no, indeed. I think Torsos just hitting the ball against his side wall. And, we were saying just how good Cringe Society are at holding their leads, but it's something Ground Zero haven't been known for. And they've kind of let a cheeky one slip and only a minute remaining.
Don't want to let Cringe Society get the lead in this one.
Look, it's a bit of a rough touch from Torson, probably one that we wouldn't expect either. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what the nerves are like for these two teams. You just have to feel like Ground Zero be so confident. And I have to give a shout out as well while we're just, glossing over the entire roster of Ground Zero. Have to give a shout out quickly to Jimmer. I mean, he's probably, this roster, Amphis, stop it. Amphis, stop it. Flip reset, air dribble off the crossbar. I mean, this is why he's the best player on the team.
This is such an incredible play. With the dribble to follow it up. Mwah.
Just beautiful from Amphis. And like we said, he showed up in game one, a little bit quiet in game two, but generally when he's playing like this, he shows up like it the whole day.
Doesn't get better than that too. And that's a scary sign if Amphis is playing his best, and that's a bump. Amphis finds the nets. That is a third goal for Ground Zero.
I mean, just right on cue there. The Ground Zero bump plays coming in hot. Drippe, and he was no hope there as soon as Torsos was going for him. And this is the trust that comes out from Ground Zero time after time. As soon as there's a shot coming on, one of them is just bombing into the opposition net to try and get a bump, try and disrupt that defense. And it just, Jake, it is crazy how much this works for this team.
No, you can see how pumped Torsos was. He got the bump there because it wasn't an easy one. And another goal, Ground Zero cleaning this one out. But Ground Zero really, they all learn from each other. We said Express, amazing at bumps. But you see, it's like Torsos watching, picking that up. And it's got to be so hard to play against.
The funny thing is, it was Cringe Society that taught Torsos that bumping game. Before they kicked him, they gave Torsos the tools in the shed. They kind of went to a more SSG type play style. It was more solo play oriented and more bump oriented at the time. And Torsos has kept that through his time in Ground Zero now.
I mean, that's a great point. As Jules gets a little equalizer, no, not equalizer. Let's call it a momentum shifter. Perhaps a little momentum shifter into the next game. Maybe a little confidence booster for Jules as well, as he's such a confidence player. But Ground Zero looking so solid. And as I was saying before, Jake Jimmer, he has been just huge for this Ground Zero team. And I'd probably say that Ground Zero, to their credit, were probably the first team to really go to that next level in terms of, getting sleek, getting performance coaches, looking at their mindset, and perhaps getting a coach that focuses less on gameplay and more about, perhaps, I don't know, it sounds cheesy, but, who they are as people and working on their connection as a team and their cohesiveness and just their relationships, Jake.
Yeah, I just want to bring up the ball touches quickly before we talk more about Jimmy. You can see Express getting half the ball touches of Torsos and Amphis, but it's really just his role. It's what makes this team so strong that he is able to do that. But back to Jimmer, I think, like you're saying, CJ, they've had such good consistency as a team, and I think you really do have to give a lot of credit to Jimmer in helping them show up mentally for every series.
Yeah, big shout out to Daniel Bonner, who is a sleep psychologist brought on. And I think if you're any team now, Ground Zero have set a standard with their victories, with the control, with the amount of support they get from their org, that you need to have a psychologist, preferably a sleep psychologist, on board to get every single advantage that you can get, whether it is through proper sleep before a competition or, things like caffeine intake and all that prep that goes in well before that allows you to mentally be stronger than everyone else.
I mean, there's certainly a lot of other, extra steps you can take in terms of being a complete Rocket League team, in terms of being a better Rocket League player and a better teammate. And I think that's where Jimmer and, as you said, Dan Bonner, shout out to those guys. They've been huge. Check them out on the socials if you'd like, because they're doing a lot of work, and they're doing a lot of work just for the OCS scene in general, not just Ground Zero. Here we go, Jules, double touch, do it. Great little save there from Ground Zero. That could have been a huge start for Cringe Shake if they were able to just get a nice little solo play here.
Yeah, look, we're seeing Jules really step up, and it's what he joined this team to do. He wanted to be that star player. We've seen bits of it, and you can start to see it now, and especially at the end of that last game, the big counterattack with Jules finishing it off. I think that's what Cringe Society are going to need, seeing that they are that more defensive team.
I do love seeing it from Jules, but I think it is coming somewhat at the cost of Drippe in the last couple of games. So as long as Drippe gains that confidence too, because we know Decker can play a really good third man at the same time. And there we go. No! Just saved out by Torsos on the line.
Huge save there, and I 100% agree with you. It seems like Drip's sort of playing a little bit of a third man role now. Jules sort of feeling himself, which can be a worrying thing for either side, depending on what really he does, because he's a wild card. He can really hurt your team, or he can really help. So it's good to see. But that's a great job from Express. Drippe and Jules getting caught out on the sidewall there and just getting bamboozled by this touch off the wall.
Yeah, just getting a bit confused by Express. You can see Express having the tricks of his own as well. So many solo plays bouncing back and forth, and Ground Zero, they're in a chance with another lead, and they're going to be wanting to keep hold of this one.
And the defense was faked out by Torsos, and that has, in my opinion, been the biggest strength of Ground Zero. Their comms have allowed them to have crazy synergies. This is a play as well where they go for the air dribble across, and it's a goal!
God.
That is teamwork to a T.
God, like you're saying, just the comms here, knowing that Torsos is going to get a flip reset, trusting that, waiting for it, even somehow reading that extra little touch Torsos gets. CJ, how do you even defend against that?
I feel like Express almost pre-jumped that. That's how much confidence he had in Torsos's flip reset. I mean, that was the perfect setup play, and it seems crazy, but if you don't watch this region, this is what Ground Zero do on a regular basis. The pre-jumps, the flips, but there we go. Decker does get the first one on the board, and a little bit of maybe a momentum shift here for Cringe.
All of Ground Zero are really pushing forward to turn that into an attack. And that was a bit dangerous as Decker came in, had full confidence in himself despite his two teammates being pushed up.
And you can see how aggressive Cringe Society were, especially Jules there. You wouldn't normally expect to see anyone that far forward, and it caught off Ground Zero. And again, it's this aggressive Jules that's really helping them get goals on the board.
Chance here for Torsos as well with the air dribble, but doesn't quite get enough power on it. It is going to be a solid attacking opportunity now for Ground Zero. They're just putting the pressure on, forcing the boost away from the Cringe Society defense. We've seen the ball go high over and over again, but Express plays patient, knowing that Drippe can do a lot with that ball. It doesn't matter. You get a little bit of time for Cringe Society. It goes straight back into Ground Zero's hands.
I mean, just seeing how close Amphis is there, waiting on Express's little close touch, it just epitomizes what Ground Zero are. They're just a great team. They really have so much confidence in each other and what they're doing on the ball. And they very rarely, Jake, rotate sort of all the way back. They're always looking to sort of get involved and really get back into play and help out their teammates.
Now you can see Amphis was going off the ceiling to try and get that pass. They're always really aggressive, really far forward, and looking for each other to finish off those pass plays off the back of those really dangerous kind of solo plays that they can pull out as well.
And that becomes dangerous as well when Cringe Society do play that defensive style. They can sometimes give a bit too much room and forget to challenge. Although, oh no, that was almost a goal. Decker got that one nice and high. Cringe Society's counterattacks are still the strong suit if they can get control of the ball for any amount of time.
Yeah, and you can see Drippe still so far back. We talked about how instrumental he is for this team. So I'm really hoping to see him warming up and getting that confidence, being able to push forward and get that striking that we know of him.
The one advantage here that we have for Cringe Societies, we know that all three of them are such good strikers. I mean, Decker was the best striker of RLCS Season 9. He can fill that role. The difference is I think Drippe is just better at opening up the net. So really important that he gets involved in that attack. Yeah,
really important they're just using all their strengths, I guess you'd say. And obviously Jules' strength is Well, I don't know if he knows what he's doing. So that is his strength. He's got that element of randomness. He's got that flary sort of potential where at any moment he could do something you're least expecting. That's almost an opening, but Ground Zero, Torsos, they just get back in time, and they do that so often, Jake, don't they? They just claw their way back at the last second.
Well, like you said, they're an aggressive team. They push forward. They try to get as far forward and to be able to pass to each other as much as they can. But again, Cringe Society starting to doing the same thing, and it's really working out for them.
Oh, when they have some room, they play it to perfection. Deca and Drippe making use of the fact that all of Ground Zero members were running back in a difficult position. When left unchallenged, Deca is able to get some great passes.
Great play there. I mean, it's just the one extra pass is something that a lot of teams talk about and a lot of teams say how effective it is, but it is hard to do it in that situation, isn't it, Jake? I mean, when you are that close to the net, all you want to do is put that shot on, but just that extra touch, it just secures that goal.
It just put Torsos in that position, just such an impossible position to defend from. You could see Deca really had that top left corner to shoot at, but he saved his flip to find Drippe just waiting for him, and really well played to tie it up at a crucial point. It's going to be really tough for Cringe Society if they can't win this game and go 3-1 down.
Well, it's a tied-up game right now and a chance as well. Cringe Society have been able to get the ball behind the defenders on Ground Zero quite often, but this should hit the ground. Actually, another chance here for Ground Zero. Can they get it on the 0-second mark? A chance right in front of net. Amphiss misses. Deca, he's got it on target, and it's in! Cringe Society equalised the series.
What a shot there from Deca, and just the misplays coming out. Amphiss not being able to read the ball twice there in the last 10 seconds has cost Ground Zero the game, and a lovely 0-second goal there. A great capitalization of a few mistakes. Cringe Society, take it out.
God, I'm loving this aggressive Cringe Society. It's what you've been saying, CJ. They've had a month to prepare, and they've had a month to surprise Ground Zero as well. Ground Zero haven't had their eyes on Cringe Society. Cringe Society have been improving silently, and you can see they're not really sure how to respond to this aggressive, many players kind of forward style coming out.
And even though Ground Zero have had the majority of the possession throughout that game, whenever Cringe Society did have some time on the ball and did have room, they looked more threatening. They were able to get more shots out. And for whatever reason, whether it's Ground Zero being pushed up a little bit too much, or whether it's Cringe Society with good placement, they were always getting the ball over the top and behind the members of Ground Zero. And you even saw that right there with Amphiss having the ball go over his head.
And 4 shots as well. 4 shots coming out for Ground Zero's total over that game. I mean, for any team to keep a team like Ground Zero to just 4 shots is crazy. And they're the games you have to win. You know what I mean? And for Cringe to get 10 shots, that's pretty crazy against the caliber of defense, the caliber of offense in a way of Ground Zero to put them down that end of the pitch. So that's exciting to see, Jake. And I think that's really what Cringe Society need, is that sort of offense to beat this team.
It's exciting, but also surprising, because like Yummy was saying, it did feel like Ground Zero were in control of that game, but it doesn't really feel like they had that kind of goal thirst that they normally have. They were kind of passing, not really taking their shots, whereas Cringe Society, the complete opposite, and getting rewarded for it.
Well, it's been interesting to see Torsos play as quietly as he has, as he's usually very consistently able to go off the roof and set it up. We saw a couple with him and Express, but normally we see him and Amphiss be such a dynamic duo in the attack. It'll be interesting to see how long it takes for him to get back into it.
Yeah, he's had a couple of nice bump plays to sort of set up his teammates, but offensively, sort of individually for Torsos, we just, as you said, we just haven't quite seen him. Perhaps, the quietest player on the pitch right now so far this series. So in a way, it's concerning for Ground Zero, but also the fact that they're still playing quite well in this situation with Torsos being as quiet as he is, that has to be also a concern for Cringe Society if he does heat up.
Yeah, we're seeing Cringe Society take control of this.
Yeah, I think with Torsos, it looks like he's slipping into that kind of playmaking kind of role. Oh, that's a beautiful pass from Amphiss, but read beautifully as well from Deca. But yeah, this team really does work with Express sitting back and Torsos and Amphiss being those 2 up. And if it's only Amphiss really taking the shots, I'm worried for Ground Zero if that keeps up.
Ooh, Amphiss tried to set up a double there as well. He's usually going to hit those, and it's always worrying for the defense. A chance here for Deca, and Amphiss will just get there in time as well. Bit of confusion in the midfield as Amphiss once again going for the possession, but usually when you see Amphiss or Torsos on the ball, they're not going for a bit of possession and control. They're going for the big play.
Here we go. The Express just doesn't quite get the shot on. I'm not sure if he was going for the double touch or just the power shot, but wasn't quite on target. This could be a goal here, though. If Decker can redirect this, no, just doesn't quite have the boost here. And the Cringe side is still, they've looked like the better team so far in this game as well, which is worrying for Ground Zero. But this might be the opening. No, a lovely little save there as Torse can't quite get it away.
Yeah, they're defending beautifully on their goal line. Ground Zero looking like they're starting to get a bit frustrated with these goals that you'd normally expect to go in, getting defended and cleared, and then that counterattack again just looming.
Ground Zero have always been stronger later on in the series, but they haven't yet put that to effect. So right now, Cringe Society in control. Drippe, a chance after the bump, but Express, he recovered so quickly after that bump. He was able to get back for the save.
Exactly what you're talking about as well, Yummy. Just the bump plays coming out from Cringe Society, that added offense that they've really brought in perhaps the last, probably the last split and the previous major. They've found a way to have, a less boring offense in a way, a less default play style as you were talking about before, and a way to sort of open up even, superb teams and great defenses like Ground Zero.
See, I've never felt like their offense has been boring because I like their play of it kind of a mix up between demos and passes when they're in offense. It's mostly just that they've been a bit too hang-backy when they are on defense. They'll sit too far back at times, and it has led to series that are very low scoring. But when Cringe Society are on, they have one of the most exciting offenses as far as team play comes in.
I think it's just great improvement what we're seeing. We're really seeing people forward, and there's been so many chances this game. Decker's missed 2 chances you'd normally expect him to put away. Drippe missing a double touch. It's really Ground Zero on the back foot here. Cringe Society coming out really strong in this first series.
Oh, Amphis was trying to get that in for Torsos, but was unable to, as it will stay in this defensive half. Jules a shot. It goes high. It's going to bounce in front of net. And Drippe gets the score. Can Cringe Society take the lead in this series?
Another miss there defensively from Amphis. It was its rough touch because they were all expecting Jules to go the shot. Now, I'm not sure if Jules was intending to hit the crossbar there with that shot, but it was the difference between a golden opportunity, a goal for Cringe Society, and perhaps a counter-attack for Ground Zero. Great little play there from Cringe, and it is just the offensive pressure. They've just been hounding the Ground Zero defense, and eventually, which is probably something we haven't seen quite often, Jake, is that Ground Zero have sort of collapsed.
Honestly, it feels like they're just surprised at the quality coming out of Cringe Society. Torsos was saying they haven't been scrimming each other. They've been struggling to get these high-quality scrims, and you can kind of see in their goal line defense, they're getting caught out a lot by these powerful backboards, these fast follow-ups from Cringe Society, and Ground Zero can't deal with it.
Another chance here on the attack, but with 10 seconds left, they need to make something happen as the net was wide open. They even went for the bump, but there was nobody there. No chance to score right there, but Express has the opportunity. Decker will take it away. He's even going to air dribble to make sure that Express can't keep it into center. Only a matter of seconds before this ball hits the ground, but if anyone can keep it up, it's Amphis. Drippe also keeping that one high, gets the extra touch, and Cringe Society are on match points.
Wow, this is probably not going quite as expected, but again, 2 games in a row now, Jake. We've seen Cringe Society score goals. We saw last game at 0 seconds, but this game as well in the final minute, getting that goal to put them ahead in the game. I mean, that might just be a testament to how Cringe Society aren't really feeling the pressure here. They're willing to keep aggressing even in the final stages of the game when it's in the balance. Or do you think perhaps that's maybe Ground Zero, just getting a little bit more nervous, or just perhaps not being their usually aggressive self?
Honestly, I think Drippe is starting to wake up. He was the difference maker there. He got that goal to get them in the lead. He was pushing forward more. You saw him there with the most touches in a game that was really dominated by ping pong, but on the other side of that, you're right, CJ. Ground Zero, they really don't look like their normal selves. Torsos,
we got a timeout.
They've got a timeout, and now it's really up to Jimmer. We were saying Jim has been so important. You can see him leading this group discussion, and it'll be really interesting to see how they change their play style coming from here.
Well, these have been pivotal moments throughout their career so far, where they go down, where they need a few games. I feel like Ground Zero have reverse swept more than any other team. The only team that I could think that is slightly equal to that is Renegades, because they are terrible starters. But Ground Zero have also been down in and almost out in multiple situations, including in that winter major grand final, and then brought it back from there. And I think a lot of it does come down to Jimmer.
Now, if I'm Jimmer in this situation, here we are. We're on the brink of, losing this first series, which is very surprising. What do I say? Now, I have to put myself in his shoes. What are Ground Zero missing right now? I think offensively, they're just not being able to keep the ball in Cringe Society's half. So I think that this is really a perfect situation here where we need to see Amphis, we need to see perhaps even Express really just moving downfield a bit more and just trying to open it up, trying to get some bumps, some boost steals, because I'm not quite sure what sort of, a chemistry mismatch is happening with Ground Zero, but to Cringe Society's credit, they cannot keep the ball in Cringe Society's half. And Cringe Society, for the last 3 games, they've had more shots, they've had more pressure, and they've just been the aggressors in this series.
I think they've just had incredible defense, honestly. It feels like Ground Zero, they haven't been doing their incredible kind of plays except for those first few games. It hasn't been enough to get past Cringe Society that just seem so confident, and now starting off again, Drippe so far forward to get this goal, and that's not what you want straight out of a timeout.
Not many people can beat Torsos in the air, but Decker outsped him by a mile, and he was the last defender left for Ground Zero. And I think that situation kind of gives us an indicator of what they said in that timeout. They want Ground Zero to push, or Jimmer wants Ground Zero to push harder, push further, but in that case, it cost them.
Yeah, and I mean, what a crucial goal here for Cringe Society. We talked about it after the first game or the first 2 games. How Cringe Society, they get a goal, they hold the lead. They're not too worried about scoring again. They just want to play really solid play style. And as you see, Drippe, he's playing a general sort of role now. He's going to be sitting back third man, just watching those big clears, making sure it stays in the Ground Zero defensive half here. And I mean, I don't know what Jimmer said, but this is going to be huge for Ground Zero, because I'm not seeing the smiles on the faces of Ground Zero anymore compared to the first couple of games.
No, that's honestly really what I feel helps them. They have such a positive attitude in these big games. And, like we were saying, Cringe Society haven't been able to take them out in the best of 7. And to have their first one here in their most important series ever, it just goes to show that the nerves probably are getting to Ground Zero at the moment.
And very important when it comes to the fact that Cringe Society don't have that support that Ground Zero. They're showing that they can do it off their own backs as that one goes wide. Cringe Society are a team as well that are so good at keeping a lead. They'll be happy even just having a 1-goal lead here.
That was a golden opportunity, however, for Jules he pretty much had, I don't want to say he had an open net, but Amphis was facing backwards, saving the previous ball. That could be open anyway. It doesn't matter. Drippe gets the goal. Cringe Society open up a 2-goal lead here on series point.
God, and Drippe just coming in so strong towards the end of this first series. You can see him just smash that bottom right, and that's what we expect from Drippe. Like we were saying, he's that kind of player that can find those goals where you'd normally maybe not even go for it, seeing Express back.
Oh, we're getting closer and closer to this being a Cringe Society victory in the first series. And then all of a sudden, pretty much every analyst would be incorrect and wrong, including myself. And this is exactly what we expect from OCE Rocket League this season too. A lot of change up, a lot of improvement coming out, and Cringe Society putting that in full force right now.
Full credit to Jimmer, because I'm starting to realize now in the timeout, he just said, you know what, let's give him the first series. Let's get OCE a little bit more airtime on the main channel here in the OCE Championships. Why not? We'll take the next 2. Perhaps that's what the message was, because right now I'm not seeing any change, apart from perhaps, as you said, Yummy, being a little bit more aggressive, but it's come at their detriment here in this game.
I would have thought that they'd tell Torsos, hey, play confidently, mate, because he's the one that we normally expect to be going for those plays. But still seeing him kind of fill a third-man role that normally we see Express in.
I think it's tough because maybe they did say that, Yummy, but it's hard to just decide to play more confidently as a player. And I think Ground Zero have...
Drippe.
Look at his face. He knows that was a good shot. That's just Drippe against waking up into this series and showing what he's made of.
That That is a Drippe special right there. That is what he is known for. That's what he's been known for so many seasons now. Is his striking, his offensive prowess. That Yummy is perfect placement.
It's insane that he's never ever lost that. I mean, even when he was struggling a couple of seasons ago, he was still hitting bangers top corner, and they just make goals. We see it over and over again, especially in the Oceanic region. If you could just put on a sick shot, and it will be a goal. That one, Express trying to find the mechanics this time, but wasn't able to get the scoop.
He doesn't get the flick he needs, and with only a minute and a half remaining and 3 goals, it feels like Cringe Society are poised to take this first series. It's really, like we were saying, CJ, you almost predicted it, saying how this 1 month could be really strong for Cringe Society until you only gave them 5% because of it.
Well, you know, at 5%, it's still a chance. And right now, Cringe Society, they've been taking that chance. They've been taking all of their opportunities with striking like that from Drippe. And right now, with a minute left, ladies and gentlemen, against all odds, against what everyone predicted, it's looking like Cringe Society are going to be taking the first series here in this best of 3.
Mental. The first time these two teams have gone together and Cringe Society have gotten the best. And it is in the most important match. Hey, the last time we saw these guys play, it was a 4-0 by Ground Zero in the major grand final. And it was a dominant 4-0 for the most part as well. And now this is looking so dominant here for Cringe Society. And in fact, with 40 seconds left to go, I'm not giving any hope for Ground Zero.
Yeah, Jules doesn't have to worry about missing that open net unless we see something absolutely crazy. But Ground Zero looking towards those next series. I do feel like they've always played their best when their backs are against the wall, when they have to show up. And I think maybe they just came in a bit too complacent into this first series.
Getting outpaced here as well as Deco receives that pass, and that's the second time that the Ground Zero defense has been beaten to the ball. So 4-0, 26 seconds left. And what a start to the day that we're having. We were a little bit worried that it might be a bit boring here, CJ.
100%. You know, I was thinking of going back to bed after a little bit 4-0 sort of number here. But to Cringe Society's credit, they're going to be keeping me up for a while longer. This could be a little goal from Memphis just to show off a little bit. No, that pretty much sums up the series because Yummy, I'd say that he hits that 9 times out of 10 any other game.
Yeah, he's very, very accurate with his doubles off the backboard, but it doesn't matter. Cringe Society taking control. Drippe in the lead with that one, showing that he is still amongst the best in OCE.
And Drippe given the one more pose up to the camera. That's been a bit of a curse in OCE history. But you can see just how confident he is really, keeping this momentum up and hopefully taking it down in 2 for them.
That's also a reminder that if Cringe Society were to win this set of series, then they would equalize Ground Zero's total prize money across the entire season, which is huge for them as well. Without the org, without the salary, without that extra income or support, that would be massive for the players on Cringe Society.
Yeah, and at the same time, Ground Zero have been pretty open that prize money is a big thing they're playing for. They haven't had the chance to go to Worlds, so there's a lot of pride on the line to lose that prize money. And CJ, I think it's going to hit them hard if they can't confirm this win after a year of domination.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking. It's just for Ground Zero's perspective, for such a dominant year, we talk about them in comparisons to to BDS in terms of regional dominance. For them to not come away with at least the most prize money in the region would absolutely hurt every single member on that team. So, Yummy, I mean, it's the ball is in Ground Zero's court. They haven't quite shown, what we've usually seen from them. So, Jimmer, it's on you. It's on perhaps Torsos to step up a little bit, be a bit more aggressive. And we have to see a little bit more from Ground Zero because Cringe, they are looking cool. They're looking calm. They're looking collected.
Well, in Ground Zero, yeah, they really need to step it up. But we have seen moments like this from them in the past. In fact, that winter major in the grand final, they lost to Riot Gaming in the first series. We thought, wow, Riot Gaming are going to take this one. And then all of a sudden, they somehow step it up a notch. Torsos went Super Saiyan in that one. And they ended up taking it throughout that series in a really surprising and dominant fashion. Yeah,
I think even though Cringe Society did take that, they're looking really good. I still think you'd have to favor Ground Zero to make a comeback in this second series.
Yeah, well, we are going to actually have a quick break. We're going to be right back with that second series. Cringe Society are on fire.
Don't go.